Hello everyone, what's up? It's me again, Junkmaster3, and it's time for yet a new video. And for today's video, it's going to be a horror review video. And today's film I'm going to make a review of is the film called Evil Altar, right here on VHS, actually, like you can see here. And this is from 1988, and I must say right away that this film is pretty much like about this evil cult that is run by William Smith, who usually plays really good bad guys in general, I would say. So he pretty much like wants to gather up like sacrifices to his like own little like cult or like a religion, you can say. And that's like pretty much like what the movie, like his entire like motive. He wants like the ultimate sacrifice eventually, so he kidnaps people and he eventually kidnaps this girl as well. And of course the heroes of the film tries to save her, like put an end to this cult basically. But there's also a sheriff in here in this film, which is played by Robert Sedar, who is probably most famous for the Maniac Cop films. He plays this really like corrupt sheriff in this community because he's sort of like um, he's like cooperating with William Smith for some weird reason. I don't really understand why, but he keeps saying to William Smith, "Well, leave the children out of it, like leave the children alone." But of course, William Smith has his own like rules, so they're kind of like they're like cooperating with each other, but at the same time they're like kind of like bitter towards one another. The hero characters are basically the like a family of people, which was very confusing to me because some of them look almost like the same age, and I think they were supposed to be like either like younger or older than one another. And one of these people is played by an actor that I recognize from many of the David A. Pryor films. He plays like a cop in Killer Workout, and he's been in Deadly Prey as well. I think he plays the main villain in Deadly Prey. You probably know who I'm talking about, but for some weird reason I don't remember his name. Is it David Campbell, I believe? I think it might be David Campbell, but not too sure. But the rest of the cast I don't recognize at all. I think most of them were just like basically like maybe this was their only film, and some of them were like in just 3 or 4 other films. But those are the 3 actors that I recognize in this film. So for the storyline isn't very anything like special, anything like that. I mean, we've seen lots of films like this before, but I would say it still holds up for what it is. I mean, some people would say it's a little bit boring at times. I mean, William Smith basically has this. I mean, except for like the cult that he has and like the corrupt sheriff that is played by Robert Sedar, he also has this weird looking zombie type of person who walks around and like is like doing all of his biddings basically. Like he's like sent out to like capture these people or like murder some of these people. And I wasn't sure if he was supposed to be like a zombie or like some sort of like, I don't know really what he was supposed to be, but he looked more like a really strange, weird looking zombie. And there's one scene in the film that just really cracked me up, that I just thought was just so hilarious. There was like this scene where he's supposed to kidnap this girl, but for some weird reason, instead of just breaking into the house and capturing her, he throws in like a weird, like possessed baseball into the room, so the baseball keeps floating around in the room trying to kill her off. Now that scene made me laugh so much because it made no sense at all, but man, it was really entertaining. So I mean, like I said, the storyline is not very anything special, anything like that. Most people would probably say this is a little bit boring at times, and I can totally see why. But what people thought was boring, I think, is what I actually thought was sort of like an atmospheric type of thing to it, because I really like the synth score in this film, and I really like the old school like fog machines they used like back in the 80s, because it kind of pumps up the atmosphere along with that synth music in the background. And I mean, the acting is still decent for what it is. I mean, I've seen worse. Some of the acting can be atrocious at times, but I mean, you probably know what you're getting into when you watch a film like this in general. But I would say what really saves this film from like being a sort of like a flop for me is definitely Robert Sedar and William Smith, and in particular William Smith, because he has a little bit more screen time than Robert Sedar has in this film. The family, like the hero characters, like the protagonists, I didn't care too much for at all. But yeah, what else can I talk about? The camera work is decent. Lighting is good for. I mean, I would say the lighting is a little bit of a problem for this film, but then again, it might be just the transfer of the version I watched that was really atrocious. I mean, because sometimes these films really need a proper like DVD or Blu-ray remaster, or like someone that just like restore like footage and stuff. I mean, just to improve the film, because sometimes that's actually happened to me when I watched the film on VHS and then some company bringing it out on Blu-ray, and I appreciated the film way more the second time around. So this is definitely a film that needs a DVD or Blu-ray release, and I think more people would probably enjoy it more. It's a little bit of an obscure film in general because it has no DVD or Blu-ray release whatsoever, at least not what I'm aware of. So this is definitely something that needs a Blu-ray or DVD release. I think more people would appreciate it, and especially if you're into 80s films and you think, oh, I've heard some terrible things about this one. I mean, if you're a fan of Robert Sedar or William Smith, go check this one out, and I think you might have a good time with this one. There isn't too much in terms of blood and gore effects, but what is here is actually quite decent for what it is, and especially since it's like a low-budget film. What else can I talk about? I think I've covered most things right now, but yeah, I mean, I appreciated this for what it was. I mean, definitely not something that is absolutely spectacular or anything like that, but it is good for what it is, I would say. So if you've seen lots and lots of like low budget like B movies that I have, you might enjoy this one, and in particular if you're a fan of 80s films in general, like 80s horror films. So yeah, Evil Altar, I'm going to give a 6 out of 10, which might sound blasphemous to some people, but I mean, that's just my personal opinion, and I already told you why I think this is still a somewhat charming little film. So yeah, Evil Altar. So that's it for the review. Next video, I have no idea what's going to be about. I'm probably going to prioritize the update video because there's been stacks of films ganging up on me, I was about to say, but that tries to eat me up basically. But I just need to show those off so I can put them in the shelves instead of just being like out everywhere. Also, I'm gonna make a ranking video later on with like another movie franchise, so we'll see how that goes. And I'm also gonna try to make a similar thing which I made with the 10 movies that I like that everyone else hates, and 10 movies that I hate that everyone else loves. I'm gonna do a similar thing like that, but instead of just like random films in general, I'm gonna focus on the horror titles. So yeah, keep your eyes open for those videos, and yeah, see you next time. Bye bye.